Good day, sir. I am Raquel Salas from Visa 3C. Today, I am going to discuss to you my given topic, which is all about insect coordination and integration, specifically the structure of the wings and form of the wings, underwings, and flight. Let us first define what is wings and what is flight. Wings are the defining character of pterygotes and were a key innovation in the evolutionary history of insects. The wings are connected to the thorax via the most complex joints of any animal, and the thoracic musculature provides control of the wings as well as high power output. Flight, on the other hand, is important for a vast range of activities, and the detailed structure and form of the wings primarily reflects their adaptation for flight. Even so, flight is the most energetically demanding of an insect's activities, and the power for flight may be provided by oxidation of several different substrates. Flight is only useful if it is stable and controlled, and a range of different sensory systems is used to provide the necessary feedback. So let us proceed to the structure of the wings. Fully developed and functional wings occur only in adult insects, although the developing wings are present in larvae. The fully developed wings of all insects appear as thin, rigid flaps arising dorso-laterally from between the pleura and nota of the meso and metathoracic segments. Each wing consists of a thin membrane supported by a system of veins. The membrane is formed by two layers of integument closely opposed, while the veins are formed where the two layers remain separate and the cuticle may be thicker and more heavily sclerotized, as you can see in the figure 9.1. The detailed structure of the wing is determined primarily by the need to optimize the interaction of aerodynamic, elastic, and inertial forces during flight, subject to the constraint that the wings may need to be folded for storage when not in use. As a first approximation, the wing is separated into zones that are primarily adapted for deformability and zones that are primarily adapted for rigidity, although different zones often operate together as integrated mechanisms. Rigidity is provided by the vein system, which is interrupted by deformable zones representing flexion lines or fold lines. These allow the wing to change shape appropriately in flight or to fold away at rest. Creases near the wing tips may also allow the wing to crumple without damage when it contacts an obstacle. The first structure of the wings is wing membrane. The wing membrane is typically semi-transparent and often exhibits iridescence as a result of its nanoscale structure. Sometimes the wing membrane is patterned by pigments contained in the epidermal cells. The surface of the wing membrane is often set with small non-innervated spines called microtrichia. They usually cover the body as well as the wings. A flattened scale consists of two lamellae with an airspace between the inferior lamella, that is, the lamella facing the wing membrane, being smooth, the superior lamella usually having longitudinal and transverse ridges. The two lamellae are supported by internal struts called trabeculae. The scales are set in sockets in the wing membrane and are inclined to the surface, overlapping each other to form a complete covering. Pigments in the scales are responsible for the colors of many Lepidoptera, the pigment being in the wall or the cavity of the scale. In other instances, physical colors result from the structure of the scale. Scales and hairs on the wing membrane are not innervated, but mechano- and chemosensitive hairs are often present on the veins. The second structure of the wings is veins and venation. The principal support of the wing membrane is provided by a number of well-marked veins running along the length of the wing and connected to each other by a variable number of cross veins. A vein on a crest is called convex, while a vein in a trough is called concave. The veins divided in the area of the wing into a series of cells that are most satisfactorily named after the vein forming the anterior boundary of the cell, as you can see in the figure 9.38. The veins divide the area of the wing into a series of cells that are most satisfactorily named after the vein forming the anterior boundary of the cell. A cell entirely surrounded by veins is said to be closed, while the one which extends to the wing margins is open. On the anterior margin of the wing in some group is a pigmented cell, the pterostigma. In some very small insects, the venation may be greatly reduced. In Hymenoptera, for instance, only the subcosta and part of the radius are present. The form of an individual vein reflects its role in the production of useful aerodynamic forces by the wing as a whole. On the leading edge of the wing, the longitudinal veins form a rigid spar supporting the wings as it moves through the air. In Lepidoptera, for example, the subcostal vein is circular in cross-section and so is equally resistant to bending in any direction. And in dragonflies, the cross veins along the leading edge of the wing form. So, let us proceed to the flexion lines. The production of useful aerodynamic forces requires that the wing remains relatively rigid on downstroke, but some flexibility is necessary on the upstroke in order either to invert or feather the wing at stroke reversal. There is also commonly a transverse flexion line, such as the nodal flexion line of cicadas. This line permits the distal region of the wing to bend down on the upstroke, but does not permit upward flexion during the downstroke. Fold lines. When at rest, the wings are held over the back in most insects. This may involve folding of the wing membrane along the radial veins or longitudinal flexion lines, but may also involve folding of the wings along lines of high flexibility that are adapted to this specific function and known as fold lines. Folding is usually produced by a muscle arising on the pleuron and inserted into the third axillary scleroid in such a way that, when it contracts, the scleroid pivots about its point of articulation with the posterior nodal process and the second axillary scleroid. As a result, the distal arm of the third axillary scleroid rotates upwards and inwards so that finally its position is completely reversed. The hindwings of Coleoptera, Dermaptera, and a few Blattodea fold transversely as well as longitudinally, so they can be accommodated beneath the protective forewings. Wings that fold transversely, although so by using the same basic mechanism, consisting of 4 adjoining panels constrained to rotate hinge-wise about 4 fold lines converging at a single point. Areas of the wing. The flexion lines and fold lines divide the wing into different areas. The region containing the bulk of the veins in front of the claval furrow is called the remidium, as you can see in the figure 9.8a. In some Diptera, there are 3 separate lobes in the region of the wing base, known from proximally outwards at the thoracic squama, alar squama, and alula. There is some confusion in the terminology and homologies of these lobes, but it is probable that thoracic squama is derived from the posterior margin of the scutellum. The alar squama represents the jugum, and the alula is part of the claval region which has become separated from the rest. The wing margins and angles are also named. The leading edge of the wing is called the costal margin, the trailing edge is the anal margin, and the outer edge is the apical margin. Let us proceed to the sensilla on the wings. Many insects have hair sensilla along the wing veins. In general, these are probably mechanoreceptors responding to touch and possibly to the flow of air over the wings in flight. Contact chemoreceptors are also known to be present on the forewings of many species of Diptera. Companiform sensilla are present at the base of the wing, mainly in groups on the subcostal and radial veins. These groups are often present on both upper and lower surfaces of the wing, but in Acridiidae and Blattodea, they are only present ventrally. The sensilla in the groups are generally oval, all those in a group being similarly oriented, so that they are sensitive to distortions of the wing base in a particular direction. More distally, on the veins are other scattered companiform sensilla, but these are large and almost circular so that, unlike those in the basal groups, they have no directional sensitivity. The number of cincilia in each group varies, there being more in more highly maneuverable species. Wing coupling. This wing coupling may take various forms, but in many species, it involves lobes or spines at the wing base. A primitive arrangement is found in some Mecoptera of the family Chorestidae, in which there is a jugal lobe at the base of the forewing and a humeral lobe at the base of the costal margin of the hindwing. Both lobes are set with setae known as the jugal and frenular bristles respectively. In some Trichoptera, only the jugum is present. It lies on the top of the hindwing and the coupling mechanism is not very efficient. However, the Lepidoptera have a strong jugal lobe which lies beneath the costal margin of the hindwing, so that this is held between the jugum and the rest of the forewing. Other insects have the wings coupled by more distal modifications that hold the costal margin of the hindwing to anal margin of the forewing. Articulation of the wings with the thorax. Where the wing joins the thorax, its dorsal and ventral cuticular layers are membranous and flexible. In these membranes are the axillary sclerites, which transmit movement of the thorax produced by the flight muscles to the wing. Typically, there are 3 axillary sclerites. The first is in the dorsal membrane and articulates proximally with the anterior natal process and distally with the subcostal vein and the second axillary sclerite. The second extends to both dorsal and ventral membranes and articulates ventrally with the pleural wing process and distally with the base of the radius. It is also connected with the third axillary sclerite, which articulates proximally with the posterior natal process and distally with the anal veins. And the third axillary sclerite is Y-shaped, with a muscle inserted into the crotch of the Y. So let us proceed to the form of the wings. The gross form of the wings is determined primarily by aerodynamic considerations, but other ecological factors may provide different selective pressures. Reduction or loss of one or both wing pairs is widespread, and in several orders the forewings are thickened so as to provide protection for the hindwings when the wings are folded over the body. Wings adapted for flight. Wings with narrow, petulate bases are found in relatively slow-flying insects such as some damselflies and antlions. This shape probably reduces aerodynamic interference between contralateral wing pairs, which might enhance maneuverability. Wings with broad bases, on the other hand, are associated with the capacity for rapid flight. This shape probably increases the efficiency and magnitude of aerodynamic force production. The wings of very small insects are often reduced to straps with 1 or 2 supporting veins and long fringes of hairs. This probably tends to divert the attention of a predator away from the head and thorax, or to deter attack by increasing apparent body size, at least in some of these insects. An irregular outline to the wings, such as occurs in some butterflies, serves to break up the outline of a resting insect and presumably has a camouflage function. Halters. The hindwings of Diptera are modified to form halters, which are sense organs concerned with the maintenance of stability in flight. Each halter consists of a basal lobe, a stalk, and an end knob which projects backward from the end of the stalk so that its center of mass is also behind the stalk. The whole structure is rigid except for some flexibility of the ventral surface near the base, which allows some freedom of movement, while cuticle of the end knob is thin but kept distended by the turgidity of large vacuolated cells inside it. On the basal lobe of the halter are groups of campaniform cincilia that can be homologized with the groups at the base of a normal wing. Dorsally, there are 2 large groups of cincilia, the basal and scapal plates. The cincilia of the scapal plate are parallel with the axis which passes through the main point of articulation and the center of mass of the halter. Those of the basal plate are oriented with their long axes at about 30 to the axis of the longitudinal rows in which they are arranged. Wings adapted to other functions. The forewing of many insects are thicker than the hindwings and serve to protect the latter when they are folded at rest. Forewings modified in this way are known as elytra or tegmina. Leathery tegmina occur in Blattodea, Mantodea, Orthoptera, and Dermaptera, while in Heteropteran, Hemiptera only the basal part of the wing is hardened, such wings being known as hemelytra. The basal part of the hemelytron may be subdivided into regions by well-marked veins and, in mirids where the development is most complete, the anterior part of the wing is cut off as a proximal embolium and distal conus. The center of the wing is the corium and the anal region is cut off the clavus. Elytra of Coleoptera are usually very heavily sclerotized and the basic wing venation is lost, although it may be indicated internally by the arrangement of trachea. The two surfaces of the elytron are separated by a blood space, across which run cuticular columns trabeculae arranged in the longitudinal rows and marked externally by striation. Winglessness. Some insects have both pairs of wing reduced and they are said to be Brachypterus or Micropterus. Wingless species are also widespread in most other orders, but apparently do not occur in Odonata or Epimeroptera. Sometimes both sexes are wingless, but frequently the male is winged and only the female is apterous. In the ants and termites, only the reproductive caste is winged, and here the wings are shed after the nuptial flight, breaking off by a basal suture so that only a wing scale remains. The break is achieved in different ways, but termites frequently rest the wing on the ground and then break it off by twisting the wing base. After loss of the wings, the flight muscles degenerate. Commonly, the development of the wings varies within a species either geographically or seasonally. The extent to which this is genetically determined is often unclear, but in many species, environmental factors have dominant effect. That would be all. Thank you, sir.